All right, Elijah. So to start us off, just tell us what schools you went to.
So I started off my education. I lived in Boulder, and I went to Foothills Elementary School. Then I moved here after second grade, and I went to Eagle Crest, Altona, and now Silver Creek. So,
your time here, I guess you could categorize as adventurous, might you say? What are some of the things that you and your friends would typically do after school?
You know, after the school day, maybe just going over to Cade McCumber's house and playing some basketball in his driveway. Maybe just going home and taking a nap sometimes. But, like, you know, come the weekend, we'd always have that adventurous side. We'd go hiking, you know, go hang out with friends, maybe build a trebuchet.
Build a trebuchet?
Yeah.
Just some afternoon.
Well, no, that was a project for school. But Rowan Volkman, Dylan McNamara, and I, we built a trebuchet once.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it any good, or was it just kind of dumpy?
So when I get to his house, and we're building it for our physics project junior year, and we get to his house, and we get to Dylan's house, and he I figured, like, yeah, we'll throw it together with wood or whatever. Dylan did the math for it. He said he designed it and everything, right? And so I get there, and he's like, he hands me pieces of metal, and he's like, here, do you know how to weld? Start welding these together. And I was like, no, I don't know how to weld it. And so Austin had to teach me how to weld that day, and yeah.
That's awesome.
How to weld at Dylan's house, yeah.
How big was it? Like,
it was pretty big. I'd say it was like 4 or 5 feet tall, and we were throwing softballs, so they were throwing pretty well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, while after school, are there any times that, there are so many instances that, myself included, have been hanging out, and the instant it's just so funny and so crazy that whenever friends get together, you guys talk about. Do you guys have anything like that? So,
like something we talk about, or like an event?
Just any any sort of any. What I'm trying to say, what memories do you have without being so explicit?
So, I believe you were at this event. We were all we were exploring outside of Dylan's house. You know, lives on a farm close to Niwot, and it was me, Cade, Derek Allen, yourself, Dylan McNamara, a few other people, and we were running through this field, and there's this wire there, right? And we're all full sprint, and most of us see the wire, and we cut back, maybe step over it, maybe slow down, step over it.
Wait,
maybe
there's just a wire, like
it's like a fence, you know?
Okay.
Yeah. And Derek Allen doesn't see it. He sprints full speed. He doesn't know what's happening. He hits him right in the legs. He gets taken out. He falls down. He manages to grab the wire so he doesn't, like, land on his back or, like, crack his head open or anything. But he ran into it as fast as he was going. Like, Derek, you know, he's not that fast, but he's pretty fast, right? And so a few days later, I'm hanging out with him, and he's wearing shorts, and he, like, pulls him up, and he's got this thick, like, green-blue bruise all the way across both of his legs.
Oh, my God.
So gross.
That's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Did he, when he hit it, did he do, like, a somersault? Like, he must have,
He hit it, and it was like, he hit it, and he fell back and grabbed the wire.
Oh, so he fell backwards?
Yeah, he fell backwards.
He, like opposite reaction, just flipped him around?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have a time, and by the way, all these questions, if it doesn't have to be one instance, you know?
Yeah.
If you have more than one, go ahead and bring them up. Was there ever a time where, when you were in it and you were experiencing it, you thought there's no way this is happening, like, this is crazy, I'm never going to get out of this, and now that you're out of it, it's...
So, this previous summer, it was July 4th, my friends and I were up, I don't think you were with us, we had all hiked up to this lake, and we were just, like, enjoying ourselves, having a good time. We hiked up at probably, 6:30, so, it was July, it was nice and sunny still then. But we're hiking down at probably like 11:30 at night, right? And somehow we wander off the trail. And we're wandering through the woods for probably a solid 4 hours in the darkness. And my friend Sam, he starts clicking his remote for his car. And you hear the car horn just beeping, like, off in the distance. Like, we're close enough to the car that it would beep, but we didn't know where it was. And even though we were close enough, we kept getting, like, we went further away, and we wouldn't hear it anymore. I was like, oh, we're not going to get out of this until tomorrow morning when the sun's up, right? And it was like, I was cold. I ended up going to the ER the next Monday for a back issue, like, completely unrelated.
Okay.
But it was like a Saturday, and then I went to the ER on Monday. But I was not feeling well, and I just wanted to, like, go home and lie down, right? But it's 11:30 at night. We're wandering through the wilderness, and I was like, well, tomorrow morning.
And did you end up finding the car?
Oh, we ended up finding our way, but it was a while later.
It was
we didn't get home till pretty late that night. Yeah.
Was it like 4 o'clock in the morning?
It was like I want to say like we probably started heading back at 9:30, 10. So we probably got back around midnight.
So you found the car at like 11:30.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of instances where whenever you and your friends get together to sort of rehash these stories, is there a particular story, and again it can be more than one, that always seems to come up at least most of the time whenever you guys are hanging out?
Sophomore year, it was a bunch of us. We were hanging out at Nick Whitty's house. And I get made fun of this a lot. So there's a bunch of us hanging out at Nick Whitty's house, and I wasn't feeling well. And I was feeling pretty sick. And I wasn't sure what it was, but like I didn't want to ditch my friends or anything. And so I was just sick to my stomach, and I ended up throwing up a ton, and I felt really bad because I threw up all over Nick Whitty's floor.
You threw up on the floor?
Yeah, I threw up on the floor, and yep, it was about 1.5 feet outside of the bathroom too. So
wait, so you're about to throw up,
mm-hmm.
and you're on your way to the bathroom.
Yeah,
but then you end up just
releasing
everywhere.
I couldn't swallow the throw up in time. It was a pretty awful experience. That happens a lot. There are pictures of me
throwing up
on the floor. Yeah.
Did anyone help? Did anyone try and bring you to the bathroom?
Austin tried to bring me to the bathroom, but it didn't work out too well.
You just kept throwing up all over.
Mm-hmm. It didn't work out too well.
So you work. You have a job.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a lifeguard for the city. Yeah.
You work at rec center and
Center, Sunset Pool, whatever pool the city needs me to work at.
I mean, I get what is that like? Because I think there are a couple other people who are lifeguards here,
yeah.
but that's not really a very normal job.
Lifeguarding, it can be boring, it can be exciting, but I think it's a good job to have because I know I have a ridiculous amount of certifications in different first aid things. I teach swim lessons now too. I think it's helpful to have on a resume, on college apps, whatever you need it for. But I've had some of the worst moments of my life have came from that job, just freaking out from a kid breaking his leg or whatever, and me having to deal with that. It was just a really stressful moment. I managed to he'd fallen off the diving board, broke his leg. It was a stressful moment, but it was, I dealt with it.
Well, hang on. So he fell off the diving board
mm-hmm.
into what, an empty pool? How did
he hit the side of the pool and his femur.
But it's way out. It's the diving board.
Yeah, no, he fell off the closer part of the diving board.
So he didn't even fell off the stairs?
No, he was so the diving boards, they have a thing, they have rails, right?
Uh-huh.
But as you get closer to the side, at the side of the pool, the rail ends and it's just the diving board. He fell off he slipped and he fell off and he hit his leg. On the diving board, he hit his leg.
He was just walking and
he slipped because diving boards get slippery. So, wet people are walking all day, so you have to assume they're slippery.
Well, so he's now floating in the water with a broken leg?
He was screaming. Yeah. It wasn't me who got him out, but it was somebody else who got him out. I was on the other side of the pool, but I helped. I had to help. I called 911. His parents came.
What did you guys? Did you do anything? Were you just holding him? Or?
In that situation, we got him out of the pool. We sat him. Well, we didn't sit him up on the side. We had him sit on the side. We elevated his leg to make sure there was no bleeding or whatever. We got him some towels, got him dried off. He was in shock. So you have to understand that. He couldn't really feel the pain because he had so much adrenaline going through him. But we called 911. His parents were there, luckily. And they went to the hospital and, he got a cast on it. He was fine. So.
working at the lifeguard has like some risk behind it. So I mean, how often does that kind of thing happen? Like, how often are people? How many times have you had to help someone with an injury or drowning?
It depends on how you define like saving a life, I think, because I've gotten in the water, like 30, 40 times for kids that are like struggling to swim, but I don't know if I'd really call any of them drowning. If they're struggling to swim and they don't think they can make it to the side, then yeah, I'm going to get in and help them. But it's not to the point, like, their heads are still above the water. It's not to the point where they're freaking out enough where they're drowning. Other instances are at Sunset and at the rec center. The two slides create a current, mm-hmm. and the current gets pretty strong and pulls people back towards the slides on the side of the weaker slide, so the purple slide at the rec and the white slide at Sunset. And so I've had to get in plenty of times for kids that were being pulled back towards the slide and just weren't strong enough to, like, they could stand, they weren't strong enough swimmers or people just to move out of that current. So.
Well, what about instances where they like hurt themselves?
I think I've dealt with concussions and stuff. It's not that bad as long as you just make sure, just take a deep breath and you'll be fine for the lifeguard in that case.
Right.
It's stressful, but you get through it.
Well, I'm guessing you don't want to be a lifeguard your entire life. What are your plans for after high school?
So I plan on moving to Boston in the fall. Luckily I didn't get accepted into my first choice school, but luckily I ran into someone who happened to be the son of a professor at my first choice school. The professor is going to kindly enough offer me an internship for the fall. So
then what would you do after that?
I'm not 100% certain on what I want to major in, but I'm thinking architecture or business.
And are you hoping that the internship will get you an in and be able to?
Yeah, I'm hoping it can get me. I'm hoping I can interact with other professors in the school besides just this one business professor who works at Boston University, and I'm hoping he can give me a good letter of letter of recommendation from a professor at the school. It sounds better than one from a different school.
Right.
And I'll go to Bunker Hill Community College for the fall of 2016 and spring of 2017, and then transfer credits, hopefully, for the fall of 2017.
Are there any instances, not even like in high school, I mean, that's probably most of them, but mm-hmm. Any like instances, and this can also involve high school, that really stand out to you and really you'll carry with you for a really long time?
I think one of the most satisfying moments in my life that I think I'll carry with me for the rest of it is, I'm not sure if satisfying is the right word. I was sailing in Boston Harbor. It was just a tiny little boat, small boat, but I was sailing with a group of kids, like a camp. It was a sailing camp. And we flipped over the boat, which is fine for that size of boat. You can flip it right back up. Mm-hmm. But I was pretty young at this point, and I got caught under the sail, and I wasn't strong enough. Like the sailboat was sideways, mm-hmm. so it was resting. I got caught under the sail. I was wearing a life jacket, so I just kept bouncing up and hitting the top of the sail, and I wasn't a strong enough swimmer where I could just dive down and swim out from underneath it. So I had to swim, like with my head dragging at the top of the sail and underneath it and I was underwater for probably about a minute and a half before I came out. And I don't know, it was really clarifying for me, I guess.
Was anyone like looking for you at all, or
like they were all having a good time because they're like, oh, we flipped the boat, like we'll flip it back over, and then I pop up.
And then you're just like struggling.
Yeah, they didn't notice me until I popped back up. Yeah.
So our class is kind of a more rambunctious than maybe some others. So mm-hmm. oftentimes when we get together or whenever we're first forced to do anything, it can be met with some resistance. Mm-hmm. So do you remember any times where, like, as a class, you felt a sense of pride because of everyone sort of, I get.
So during junior year, we got together and we had the CMAS test, I believe it was. and we all
the park test.
The park test, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. We all got together, and it was a group of us, probably like 10, 15 of us, but at first it was only like 4 or 5 of us to get. We all opted out of the park test, and we all so we didn't have to go to that class period or whatever. So we all get together. It was you, me, Cade McCumber, and Dylan McNamara at first.
Right.
Yeah. We all get together and we decide like we're gonna have an opt-out cookout. So we go to King Soopers. We get food. We go to your house. We get some camping gear for stuff. We go to Cade's house. We get some other camping gear, and we pull into the very back of the parking lot, and we have a grill, and we start grilling up sausages and some other food. We had like beans and stuff. So we start grilling up food. You know, we had told all our friends, so they came out during lunch or whatever. And they came out and they sat with us, and we sat around. We had a good time for like a solid an hour and a half. We were just cooking, and everybody was having a good time eating. So Chambers walks to the very back of the parking lot. We're in the very back corner of the parking lot. And he's like, "What are you guys doing?" You know, in his Chambers accent, right? And we're like, "We're cooking. We're gonna opt out cookout." He's like, "Just shut it down." So we have to pack up all our food and stuff, pack up our grill, and we have to go back, you know, go to our classes and whatever for the rest of the day. Yeah.
I mean, I have my own reasons for doing it, but why did you want to partake in this opt-out cookout?
I mean, I think it was, you know, like the hanging out with friends and eating food. Like food is probably the biggest motivator for me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, because you weren't in our AP Lang class, so you weren't. I mean, that's where we started organizing it. So how were you able to? How did you get involved?
I definitely didn't ditch a class. You know, we're all friends. Yeah.
We were walking out, and it was just the 3 of us, and I don't remember.
I think you guys decided on a few days earlier, right? And then you offered the opportunity to me, and we all got together and did this. We bought some food, bought some sausages. Yeah.
And I mean, this was a solid chunk out of the day. I mean, do you remember how much time we spent actually getting everything together?
We probably spent like a good hour getting everything together.
So we ended up still having like an hour to do everything.
Yeah.
Do you remember why, or even what happened with Chambers? Like, because
he came out and he had his radio or whatever, and he was talking to Finisted on the radio.
Oh, that's right. He was talking to Finisted.
Finis said, he's like, they have a grill, you know, they're cooking food, they're having a good time or whatever, right? And Finisted's like, tell them to shut it down. And so we had to. That was the end of that. You know, Chambers thought it was funny.
Well, to close out, we kind of covered how, I mean, you've gone through so much, like you've experienced a lot. Not necessarily like the most scholastic way of learning things, but you've definitely learned from your experiences.
Yeah.
What have you learned from those experiences, and how do you plan on applying that in the future?
I think most of the things I've learned more about like myself and my friends and just people in general. I think these experiences help to apply with socializing with other people, not necessarily working or like pursuing a career, which there are other things to learn for that. But I think most of my adventurous things I've learned from them in a way that will help me gain friends and keep the friends that I already have.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Elijah.